Welcome back with the caring Joanne Callan. Hi, Joanne. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And a new face this morning to chat to. So
yes.
Great.
And you came here walking along the street on a beautiful day.
Oh, such a beautiful morning. I live in May, which is just outside Newry, and just at the foot of Slieve Gullion, and the sun this morning was just beautiful. The colours on the mountain were really something special.
It is gorgeous around here. I'm just getting to know it, and Rowan told me what exactly the Mourne area was today and the beginning of the program, so I understand a little bit more. And if you're into healing, are there certain sort of areas of the land that are healing around here?
Yeah, well,
which Ireland is kind of famous for, of course.
And people would look towards ley lines and things like that for healing energy. And I do believe particularly the Ring of Gullion area, we've a lot of, I suppose, Celtic stones and Neolithic paths and passages and stuff like that. So I definitely believe there's something there. I mean, a lot of the time people would talk about the energy on Slieve Gullion, and
I understand there's a kind of sacred geometry underneath those stones.
Yes.
And did you see the discovery this week by the maintenance man at Stonehenge? Did you read about that?
No, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, the maintenance man at Stonehenge found some kind of dry patches. And it was, and then he told the archaeologists, and then they found an aha moment about Stonehenge finally. So, it was unusual, but
I think the fact that, for me, certainly that so much of that knowledge as to what was going on there has been lost. There was obviously a very intelligent race with an awful lot of information, I think even more than what we have with all of our technology today, because a lot of the sacred sites in Ireland would line up almost, and it's like how did they know that when everything was done on foot, how did they know that line was going to, from Slieve Gullion,
and without helicopters, Rowan.
Yeah, without helicopters, and South Armagh obviously then got its fair share of helicopters after that. But the passage tomb at the top of Slieve Gullion actually aligns with where Newgrange and Stonehenge and and the Hill of Tara, they align on sunrise at the winter solstice, and the lights into the tomb. On Slieve Gullion, it actually lines up at sunset on the winter solstice. So,
really?
And it lights in and floods the tomb, which is, and Slieve Gullion is one of the oldest passage tombs, highest and oldest passage tombs in Europe. So
I wonder if it's drawing me back, re-migrants to Ireland. This program also, and the website, brings tourism to the area. So I think it's important for those people watching on YouTube or the web that they know about these things.
Watching in through the video page and things, because the area certainly, the Ring of Gullion has just gotten major investment through, I think it's the Big Lottery Fund, which is fantastic to preserve the pathways and things like that.
The archaeologists must be jumping up and down in their seats.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the council over the last few years, it's actually a programme that I'm hoping to do this year, have run a programme for geotourism ambassadors. So there's a lot happening locally, and whilst the Mournes for many years has got a lot of recognition, certainly South Armagh was a no-go area really because of the military activity and the troubles and things like that. So thankfully we're now getting the
in a
recognition.
Different era, and that longest day of the year has been important for me, because that was what drew me back to Ireland in 2007 when they had the first day of private reflection, which is now a public day, on June 21st. And so I came back with that memorial for the Troubles, and it was very important that that day is preserved for a period that was not a good part of our history.
Yeah. And that's, as you said, the longest day being the 21st. It's one that's very close to me because my birthday is the 22nd. So my mum often says the 21st definitely was the longest day. Because I'm the first.
How many hours labour? And I heard you do midwifery.
Well, I do a lot of reflexology with pregnant women. So I not fully midwifery, but
okay. What does that involve? At what stage of the pregnancy?
I would be, I suppose, really from after 12 to 20 weeks, depending on how comfortable the woman sits with it, and I think that's relevant with everything. Some women prefer to leave it till the last few weeks.
Leave what? Tell us what Reiki is. Some people might not know what Reiki is. Remind us. Maybe you and Rowan have been chatting about it for a while.
Reflexology is a technique of applying using acupuncture points. So
we should have Rowan's foot here in front of us.
We've
He's
had
off
that
camera,
experience,
but
we could just have.
But that was with the rest of him.
Oh, well, yes, that's true.
I think I need his foot here. Well, that'll be coming in a moment when we go to the Green Tower music. Anyway, so it's reflexology, not Reiki, or both?
I do both, yes.
Oh, both, okay.
And I suppose one of the things with Reiki is that once you're attuned to Reiki, you can't not share it. So it's
a part of the value system, the ethics of your profession?
The value system, the ethics, but it's an energy. So, I mean, we can't stop energy.
So what energy are you feeling from me?
Well, a most positive one. And I think
can you feel it from that far, or you have to be really up close and touching,
no, you can,
that much?
I think we can all feel. I mean, I don't think it's anything
to
particular to a practitioner. I think we all experience energy all of the time. We're walking into a room and we get a feel for the room, we get a feel for a person.
But some of us are very, frontal lobe, just...
Yeah, we just...
pretend there's no body, certainly in academia where I've been teaching.
Keep it sort of away, but there's still an awareness of it. I mean, we still know I like that person, or I don't, or we maybe don't acknowledge it and we don't want to know about it, but it happens whether we want it to or not.
So since Rowan's off camera, we can say, what kind of energy
does Rowan give?
And we've got a technical person in the room. We can ask about Ryan's energy.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I'll let you
we've
keep
all
talking
got that different. We've all got our different
pregnant
flows of
women,
energy. But yes, pregnancy is it's an area that I love working with, because the benefits for pregnant women, and I believe for society in a whole, in improving the birth experience of women. So a child who has had a very positive birth experience is likely to be a much more settled child in its early years, which allows for a much more pleasant experience for the family as a new baby has come home. And I do believe that experience of where we're going with birthing and the whole area around maternity care and maternity services for women is so important, to make sure that really that at a very vulnerable time in a woman's life, that her experience is as sacred as it should be anywhere. And there's I suppose a advertisement doing the rounds at the moment that says whether in a 4-poster bed or a hospital bed, no means no, and that experience for a woman in that area when she's birthing her baby, she should be able to say no to what's done to her body and how she's treated, rather than it just being a case of, we're going to do this to you.
And what about if there's an emergency, though? Yeah,
there's always the case for emergencies, but we have to, yes, emergencies are emergencies, but like any other aspect of life, I don't think we should be legislating and we should be becoming common practice based on emergency. Emergencies will happen, but we can't live our lives based on when things go wrong, because they will go wrong and we need to be prepared for that. But the norm shouldn't become the emergency.
Right.
Is probably where I would sit with that normality is normality and emergencies are emergencies, but let's not make every situation an emergency.
Right. I love talking to you about the birth process, because I'm always talking about the death process, and that's almost why I'm here, the funerary rituals and that kind of thing. So that's really interesting. But just to take a moment, Rowan's foot is speaking to me, and he's telling me to ask you about the program today. Is that correct?
Yes, so our programme today is actually a summary, really. It's a show that I've done myself today. I normally have a guest on, but I've done it myself today, or I'll be doing it myself today. And we'll be chatting about, I suppose, top tips. A lot of the time when we talk to health professionals.
I like that, top tips.
Top
so
tips,
it keeps it nice organised.
And,
top 10 or?
Yeah, top
3?
There's 5 or 6, I suppose 7, 8, maybe it goes on.
What time is your programme on to?
It goes on at 3 p.m. today.
That's helpful.
Everyone
knows that but me.
Yes, it goes out at 3
Thank
p.m.
you, Rowan Hansfoot.
For reminding us on that conversation. But yeah, definitely, when we talk about health, there are key things that we can all do. There's different ways of doing it. At different stages in our lives, we need to focus on different things and things like that. But there's generally, if we get the nutrition right, we get water right, we get exercise, we look after.
I heard you need a lot of water.
A lot of water.
Especially if you drink coffee, you need almost 3 times the water or something like that.
And
since this is a morning show, I have to ask you about that.
Water, yes, definitely. you know, the regulations, the advice would be between 1.5 to 2 litres of water per day. I do know people who would up that to 2.5 to 3 litres and have noticed huge improvements in their skin, their general well-being, their energy levels, everything. You know, a lot of us are going about dehydrated, and everything from headaches.
I suppose people are worried about having to run off to the
run off to the loo,
ladies'
and
room all
that's
the
one of the
time.
things that can happen when we. If we're talking about drinking too much water, people will say, I don't like water. So what they do is they take a glass and they gulp the glass down.
And then they get the hiccups.
And then they get the hiccups and then they run into the loo. And I often compare it to water in a plant. Oh. If you're watering a plant and you pour lots of water in, if the plant is particularly dehydrated and you pour all of the water in,
it just goes
it just
through.
runs straight through.
Oh, I get it.
It's going to happen with a human.
That's a good
as well.
visual.
Yeah.
So you should sip it like wine.
Sip it, yes. Take time with it.
Oh,
sip
what
it
about those
throughout
little coloured things you can drop in, and powders, vitamin drinks?
Yeah, there's lots. I think those definitely form a part of a balanced diet, depending on where the person is. Is it necessary? Not always. I think
because
just,
then they
let's
would have
get the
sugars
water.
in them.
Let's just get the water in initially.
Am I making sure I cover the aspects of the program today at 3 o'clock?
Yeah, we're doing really good.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've so there's a lot of there's a lot of key tips there really, and we've a bank on our Vadio page now for Destination Wellbeing. There are so many resources of different practitioners, different therapists.
And can I interject with that? Because we've had the Linna Memorial locally, I'm curious about a grief counsellor. Is there a grief counsellor or anyone who's sort of triggered, I guess, by any post-traumatic stress?
Mm-hmm. Yes, there are. There are lots of different practitioners out there. We have grief counsellors,
and those are on the website.
We can link in.
That's
pretty much all of those.
That makes me feel relieved, because we're going to Warren Point Presbyterian. Some listeners might be coming along.
Yeah. And just interestingly, yesterday, I don't know, as you say, when you're talking about the death experience, I just noticed that there's a local business, I read it last night, actually quite late, who have secured the contract or the services, or whatever the correct word is there, to do DNA preservation at death. So when a person,
it gets a bit scary with ethics and things.
Yeah, well, I think it's at the family's request, and
that's like in the they're saying to keep. Just back to the birth experience, they're keep the mother's placenta.
And stem cells.
That's quite ordinary now, isn't it?
Yeah,
banking your placentas because of disease later or something.
Yeah, well, I think that it's probably less placenta and more the stem cells, and but I think the idea behind DNA research at death is to be able to look for genetic illnesses and things like that may have shown up, and to preserve that.
Where do you bank these things?
I picked it up last night, so we've just got a local company. I think the funeral directors, and I should know the name of it, but on Canal Street, and Paul McAvoy, I think it is, they're able to provide that service.
There you go.
For people who've
interesting ethical dilemmas, but there you go. And so we look forward to seeing you at 3 o'clock today.
3 p.m. today, yes, for all our top tips for health and well-being, and a wee bit of, I suppose, life coaching towards the end of the year. We're into 2014 now, the last 3 months of
keeping
of
people
the year,
ambitious,
and just
working towards their goals.
Yeah, how did we, what did we set out to achieve at the beginning of 2014, and how are we doing with that? So we'll stimulate some conversation.
That would be great.
that.
And I'd love to talk to you about Reiki a bit more too, because I have an embroiderer who was a Reiki practitioner.
Okay, lovely, yes.
All right, thanks for being here on this sunny morning, and we're going to go to the Green Terra Mantra by a Buddhist chant group.